Hello, Squad, and welcome to SlavGuns. Wow, I didn't know if I was going to be able to say that again. Definitely a pleasure to be back. So I have like my laptop here, so we'll see the comments on here. Just want to say thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. Um, Already see the chat littered with stuff. I know we scheduled it a little bit late because we do have a guest on today, and I didn't know exactly when it was going to work with him and so forth. So first and foremost, thank you everybody for being back on here. I'm definitely glad to be doing this. Still, the background is a little hiatus. There's a bunch of stuff that was going on. Kind of like, okay, so basically the question is, okay, I was like looking at, okay, this is stream number 87, like number 86 was like a while back. Basically, where was I? Essentially, I took the summer off, even though it wasn't really intentioned. A couple of months ago, my oldest daughter, she got hurt fairly seriously. And as a result of that, I mean, she's knock on wood, she's good. But I basically had to spend a whole bunch of time with my youngest ones. So uh, it just like it threw everything right into the craziness that was it threw the schedule completely off. Now, the good news is I was still able to go out to the range. I was still able to record a whole bunch of videos, but I didn't necessarily have the time to go through and edit all of them. So 2 weeks ago, we released 2 videos. I was hoping to have like a full-blown featured video end of last week, but it looks like it's going to be tomorrow or the day after. And that's on the Ruger American Rimfire long range target. And I will say, so the cool part about basically taking as much time as we did is I think there's another YouTube video, another YouTuber is kind of talking about it, how like, okay, like YouTubers are shills and how like, okay, if we get a gun, if you're going to go review it, like we'll take it out to the range one time and that's basically it. Personally on the channel, what we do is we'll take a gun, I'll go out to the range with a camera to kind of film my first impressions. Then we'll go out again 2 or 3 times and then do the video, hopefully by that point have a whole bunch of rounds through it. So kind of get you a little bit better perspective. Now, is it going to be as good as having a gun for a year and then truly knowing everything inside and out about it? No, absolutely not. However, oftentimes, particularly on newer firearms, we're not able to do that. So the benefit of kind of taking the hiatus was like some of these guns that I've been working and filming with, like we've literally put them through the ringer. I mean, some of these I've had for close to a year now, and we've been filming them for a year. The challenge that creates is, so I'm editing this video on the Ruger American long range target. I have footage from 6 different occasions when I took it out to the range, plus thanks to Aaron in part, I caught the bug and kind of like a little bit to take my mind off of things a little bit, got my friends involved. We started shooting PRS rimfire and NRL 22 matches. And initially it was kind of like, well, you know what, like what's going to make this video better? Let's go out and actually shoot it in match environment and see kind of how it performs. And then basically caught the bug. So we have the new videos that you're going to see for the guns that we're reviewing. There's actually legit match footage from them, which is awesome. But just it makes the editing a whole much more pain in the ass. But we're going to battle through it and we'll get through it. So this week you will get a video on the Ruger American long range target. Immediately following up on that is going to be the Ruger Precision rimfire target. Also, I've shot it in 4 matches. Actually, maybe 3 matches. So 2 NRL 22 matches and 1 PRS rimfire match. And then honestly, the one that kind of blew me away a little bit, kind of like for what it was, Bear Creek Arsenal 1022. So those 3 rimfires, the videos are completely recorded. Then we also have the Ruger American Centerfire Ranch and Standard in 7.62 by 39 and 6.5 Creedmoor. Those are also recorded. So those I will absolutely get done for you guys very, very, very soon. So yay. That's on that one. So like I said, we're kind of getting back for it. Daughter's good. I'm like trying to catch up on everything. And then obviously we have SHOT Show and everything coming up, but I do promise you, I am, even though like we still have a whole bunch of like show footage and stuff that's recorded, I'll release it. I'll have my editor. So I did bring on an editor. I'll have them just kind of like just do quick edits on those, and anything that's really, really good, I'll make it public, kind of like a filler. But channel members, they will see all of those videos because I just hate hitting delete on it. So we'll get through it. We'll do that. But everything else on the channel, we are going to have the full videos. We've been working with the YouTube manager. And one of the things that we're going to be doing is kind of like, so what we've done so far is, as the videos release, like the full featured videos, I released them 24 hours earlier to channel members, and then we go public. One of the changes we're also going to do is, so let's say, for example, the same thing, we have like a big review video. I have a crap ton of footage. Like this, for example, like we have more match footage, we have more accuracy testing, we have drone footage of shooting the gun out to 400, 500, 600, 700 yards. And I know like there's a whole bunch of people who'd really truly appreciate, and like they don't mind watching a longer video. So I think like when we did not the Dark Storm, it was the Troy AR, we literally put 1,000 rounds through in an hour through that gun, like with 5 different shooters, just like bag dumping it just to kind of see the reliability on it. There were legit people who watched the entire thing start to finish. So I'm like, okay, so let's kind of like balance it out. So what we're going to have is we're going to have the abbreviated, finely tuned and edited video that's going to be public. Members are going to see it first, and then it's going to get released to everybody. It's going to be public. And then members only will get the full-blown video with less, let me rephrase it, less cutting. It's still going to be as edited, but we're going to include the entire accuracy testing. We're going to include more shooting footage and the stuff that some of you guys might actually really, really care and want to see, or just want to have it as ASMR in the background. So I'm glad like we kind of got that figured out. So that's what we're going to be doing for the full-blown review videos and all of that type of stuff. So that will be there. Now I will say, so having started shooting the matches, I've gotten so many good, like it's crazy. So I have competed in the past. I've shot USPSA with handguns, like quite seriously, everything from local matches to national matches, until I hurt my wrist. And so like I couldn't basically put in as much practice as I needed to. And then like that's kind of like how I was when I was invited by Ruger to the private media event for the launch of the 6.5 PRC guns. I'm like, wow, I really fell in love with like rifle shooting, like really, really fell in love with it. And the cool thing, like, so when I shot my first PRS rimfire match, like, okay, so I had the gun. I'm like, okay, I want to include match footage with it. I had zero expectations for like how I'm going to place or anything else like that. I was like really nervous. I'm not going to say nervous. I was a little anxious about shooting the first stage. And what I will say is, as soon as the buzzer went off, like my competitive instinct just like kicked in. And so now I'm basically going to be shooting match number 6 or 7 just in a couple of months. And basically with that, look, it's a gear race. Absolute. I hear like stuff, and I don't know where that is, or if there's my phone or not. But yes, we got goodies. Goodies I bought from Anarchy Outdoors, so we'll discuss those and go from there. But the topic is, well, I'll go through your comments as well. But we do have a guest on today, so let me bring him on, Mr. Aaron. Hello, sir.
Well, good evening there. How are you?
It's good night. Yes. Yeah, go ahead. Make fun of me for pouring my tea.
Oh,
You
I
know you
wouldn't
want
do
to.
that.
You know you want to.
Why
Nice.
would I make fun of you for that?
There. I don't know. Sometimes, well, no, you're saying like there needs to be booze in it. Like there's no booze in it.
says the guy who's been sober for his whole life.
That is true. That is absolutely true. Awesome. Well, in any case, it's it's awesome to have you here. It's been a little while since we did a live stream, but I know we started discussing this topic. I'm like, okay, you know what? This is going to be perfect for where we're heading. So it is September. It's September 11th, anniversary of that thing. Okay, actually, can we talk about that now or no? I don't know. Is that still taboo? But
No,
it
we can
is.
talk about it.
Well, I don't know if YouTube wants to talk about it. And Joe, that is awesome. So
I don't know if
Joe
we.
had a comment.
I don't know if we care what YouTube thinks.
Yes, you do. Been sober, Joe. Congratulations, buddy. And I bet the people you're waking up with, you know exactly how you got there and who it is.
Congratulations, man! Every day's a win.
Yes, it is. Um, so it is getting into the fall. I know the very first comments we kind of got roasted a little bit, but I know I kind of call myself like a fair weather shooter, because the uh, as soon as the mercury starts it stops rising as much as it does, I really go look outside. I'm like, do I really want to go shoot or not? And I know you're from Utah and you're like one of those crazy people that actually goes out and shoots in really, really, really horrible cold weather. And talk to us about that. So, kind of like let's talk about the consideration points that people need to do, both from the gear perspective, because like one of the topics we are going to be discussing is like shooting in the wintertime or shooting in, well, the fall is not that much different, but as it gets closer to freezing, there's things you have to watch out from the ammunition perspective, and then just gear just starts breaking. And then at the same time, like if somebody's a shorts person or just typically wears jeans, how do you stay comfortable while you're out at the range, especially if you're going out hunting or you want to go out and you want to shoot a match?
Sorry, was that a question?
That was a question. So I guess let's start kind of like from the clothing perspective. I know, and it was kind of spurred on by one of the things we were discussing. So I have a trip planned out to Alaska before it gets really, really, really cold. And we started talking a little bit about the gear perspective. And I know this year I do plan on, especially if I want to stay involved with some of the more competitive shooting, or like if you want to run the guns through at matches. Personally, I had an issue where I'd go out to the range and I don't really tolerate the cold that well. And I know part of it is, let's say, for example, like even if I go, like, okay, if I'm going skiing, I'll put on my waterproof ski pants, I'll put on my ski jacket and such. But like, I really don't feel like doing that when I'm going out to the range to record. And even like reviewing some of the match footage I had. So like some of these were like shot like in November or December, and I would just shoot it in a bare hoodie or whatnot. And like, I know I'm freezing my butt off. So how does somebody actually stay warm without like wearing a full blown parka, which obviously does not look that good on videos?
Okay, so let's break this down. One, it's cold, right? And especially if you're shooting matches, it's what it's a lot of standing around. It's a lot of
Yes. It's a lot
not
of hurry
moving
up and
very
wait.
much. Yeah, a lot of hurry up and wait, not moving around much, and it's a lot of But then you get some stages where your heart rate gets up, and you start to get too warm or too cold, or different things, right?
Yeah.
So our Canadians in the comments, well, to stay in Canada, freaking crazy guys. Anyways, our Canadians in the comments are making fun of us, but I live high up in the mountains in Utah, and we see some cold weather. We don't see weather as cold as those Canadians, but I shoot. I personally shoot in all types of weather. I've competed in a blizzard, and I shoot in the extreme cold. I find shooting in the cold fun because you can watch the vapor trails.
Interesting. Okay.
The bull awake, right? It's fun to watch it zip through the really cold, dense air. So, but let's talk gear, right?
Okay.
We're Anarchy Outdoors. We are the U.S. distributor for UF Pro.
Okay.
This is my go-to. You should make me full screen for a second.
Yeah, I was just about to do that.
So,
Oops, I made myself full screen. Let me make you full screen. Okay.
so these are my go-to pants. These are Striker XTs, Gen 3s. I've ran the HT Gen 2s for a long time. I finally upgraded to the Gen 3s. They're slightly different, but this is what I wear all summer long to shoot competition, and it's what I'm comfortable wearing. It's what I am flexible in and different things, right? Just I'm used to the pockets, the configurations, and different things like that. And what makes these pants so awesome is a lot of people don't realize that they have underneath on the inside, they have a zipper. And what is this zipper for? Well, this zipper is an awesome component to these pants. Sorry, I'm getting the right side that zips. So this is where it starts right here. So this right here is a Gore-Tex liner that goes inside the pants. And what this does is it gives you a thermal barrier to the pants. And this is what I use personally for staying warm in the winter on my legs, right? It's all about layers, right? You can wear merino wool. We see a comment there. You can wear long johns or whatever. The one thing I really like about this system is it's really thin and lightweight. It doesn't add bulk around the waist. The pants pretty much fit the same. They're a little tighter on the legs because you have a liner in. So it's as easy as this. You clip it in, and then you just zip around the top. And they actually make this for all of their pants except for their lightweight desert pants don't have the zipper in them. So then once you have it in there, you just push your leg, push the insert down the leg, and there you go. You have a pretty waterproof. The material of these is decently waterproof. Not waterproof, water resistance. Waterproof's a whole different thing. They're water resistant, but there you go. Now you have a pair of thermal pants.
All right. So
that
here's
you're
the
used
question.
to wearing and shooting in.
So I guess here's a question. Here's two questions. So number one is, I guess typically like when I think of, okay, it has to be warm, I think of like big, bulky, let's say parkas or like the big puffy pants, things like that. And almost to me, it's, well, you know, it's okay. It's like for the first, like when you, in the world of shooting, it's like if somebody told you for the first, like, yeah, it's like I shoot rimfire at 300 yards and beyond, and you're like, bullshit. To me,
Come to the
it's like
range, buddy.
well, it's like, but to
we
me,
will educate you.
We will educate you. But to me, it's like when somebody says, okay, like, oh, these things are going to keep you warm. And I know we were having a discussion about the jackets on this. I'm like, how can something so thin actually be warm? Like, I think of like big, thick ski stuff, or like it needs to be like lots of feathers or like lots of filling and stuffing inside in order to actually stay warm. And the second question is, so like when you're saying warm, like, okay, up to like what temperatures is that actually going to keep you warm in?
So I'm a little bit of a polar bear. So take my comments with a little bit of grain of salt. I wear these anywhere from 105 degrees in the summer. Yes, it gets a little hot, but they have vents that open up in them so they'll breathe. You also will open them up in the winter times. I probably don't shoot. Well, yeah, I wouldn't probably go out and shoot if the temperature is below -10. So that's just me. But I do a lot of shooting from 5-0 to up. So what I like about these
this is Fahrenheit, not Celsius.
Yeah, Fahrenheit. So in Celsius, it's like what 0 to 5 degrees.
Yeah,
I spend a lot of time shooting the winter between 0 and 5 degrees, right? Celsius, when you go negative, it's kind of 1 to 1 until you get to
-32.
You get to, but yeah. So what I like about these is you can be active in these in the wintertime, and the worst thing you want is the sweat on your legs freezing. So the Gore-Tex liner in here will actually push the moisture out on top of the pant. So the pant will feel wet on the outside a little bit, but it's pulling all the moisture and sweat off your legs and pushing it to the outside of the garment so you stay warm. Now, UF Pro makes a massive like snow bib. I've never used it because I find this to be sufficient for my legs, right? Typically, I'll wear, in the wintertime, I'll compete in a pair of 200 milligrams of insulated like muck boots. So they come up halfway up my calf and they keep my feet insulated and they keep them warm. So if you can keep your feet warm, it goes a long ways to keeping the rest of your body warm. This will keep my legs warm, won't keep me overheated. And then it really depends on the temperature you're shooting in. Back here behind me, I have 2 jackets. The black one is the one that we were talking about, Max, the Delta Eagle. It's kind of more of just a shell. So you would layer underneath of it. Or if it's like, for me, like 32 to 45 degrees, it's a great jacket. It gets much warmer than that, and it gets hot. But the great thing about that jacket is that the sides unzip all the way, so you can open it up and you can let a lot of air in. It's really designed to be able to unzip and like pull an outside the waistband holster, like pull a gun out or carry an MP5 underneath of it. So UF Pro is a tactical company, so they take how to carry and conceal a firearm and other things into considerations when they build them. And they've got a jacket for every temperature. These are the 2 that I personally have upstairs in my closet that I use quite a bit. I'll use the Delta Eagle, which is the black one, mainly in the spring and in the fall as we're transitioning out of that cold, but it's not warm yet. And then this guy right here, the Delta OL 4.0, is a jacket for the extreme cold. It's amazing, and it's for being as bulky as it is, it's not super bulky, which to me makes a big difference when you're shooting competition. You want something streamlined, something that's not going to snag on props, something that doesn't make your length of pull bigger, something that you don't have to like, it's puffy, so you're like trying to jam the gun into your shoulder. This jacket, it's got a little puff to it, but it's pretty streamlined. The other thing I love about it is it's very water resistant. I've shot outdoors in 8-hour snowstorms with it on, and the snow will freeze on your back and you can just wipe it off. I've shot in the rain with both of those jackets on, and it takes 6 or 7 hours for them to become non-water resistant. So that's kind of a joke. So waterproof is when you say waterproof, it means there's no air permeability, no water permeability, and they seal the zippers. So a actual waterproof coat is very uncomfortable to wear because it's like a sweatsuit. So these are water resistant, meaning they will basically shed water, but if you get like the zippers submerged, then you'll start to get water to bleed through. So that's the difference between waterproof and water resistant. These both are water resistant. So
I guess the question is, like, can somebody, let's say, if they're buying these jackets, I mean, we're talking about using tactical Timmy gear in a match environment, which is basically typical. I mean, like, you have guys who are like, okay, let's say it's almost like taking 511 to the extreme example. Is 511 even tactical gear anymore? It's almost like a lifestyle brand. But are those jackets almost too tactical Timmy, or can you still wear them in everyday situations? Or kind of like, if it's time for me to go out and like snow blow and stuff, I will go put on my ski pants and my ski jacket, because it's like, okay, it's water resistant and it's going to keep me warm. How does it apply with these jackets? I know, like, some of the pants, like, they do have tactical features. I mean, like, it's not like John Wick tactical lining that is bulletproof, but is that gear kind of meant to be only like meant to be used with plates, or is it just fine around the house, around the community, etc.?
yeah. I mean, I don't think I own a winter coat that isn't UF Pro, just because, you know, I get samples and I buy things through the company and I sell it, so I have to use it. So I use almost exclusively UF Pro winter stuff because I have to be able to talk on it as an expert. So I use it. So the green one, the OL, I use when I snowblow, and it's great, right? It's got some really awesome features. It doesn't look super tactical. It does have the patches on the sleeves,
Mm-hmm.
and you can store a pen and different things. It does on the cuffs. It has thumb holes, so those cuffs will come all the way up to where your gloves meet.
Oh, and
It
that's
does.
actually awesome. I love that. So I will wear oops. I will wear base layers just because like I hate like getting like snow and sleet like inside the cup. So the fact that you have thumbs in there, that's phenomenal. Yeah, if you want to grab it, by all means, it's not a gun, so you can actually handle it.
I'm starting to sweat just thinking about putting this coat on. So it has a big. Okay, so we'll just talk about some of the features, right?
Sure.
I love this coat. I had a 3.0 that I sold to a buddy so that I could test the 4.0. I will tell you the 4th generation is much more water resistant than the 3.0. It's probably twice as water resistant. So big huge coat. We'll start on the cuffs here. So your thumb, it's got the spot for your thumb. And then
Mm-hmm.
it has a really big spot for those huge tactical watches or an altimeter, right? So you can get that over your wrist. You still have access to your watch. You've got your thumb comes through. So really well thought out. Like all of their stuff is super well thought out. On the inside, you've got this is a so they sell this as a set if you want the pants, and it's meant for alpine
Yeah, exactly.
3-day patrols in the military, right?
So
So
I
they
actually
sell it.
have the same. So like that's one of the features on my descent jacket.
Yeah,
Like basically like that rubber strap, like it closes in around, so like you're not gonna have stuff blowing up,
yeah,
and it
it's
sticks
a
onto the
snow
pants.
bib or whatever you want to
Yeah,
call it. A skirt. It's a snow skirt, I
skirt.
think is what
Yep.
they call it. And it's pretty nice. Sometimes I button it. I leave it in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even notice that it's there. So sometimes I button it up. Sometimes I don't. You got your pockets in here. So you got kind of your soft, puffy inside,
Mm-hmm.
and then they put Cordura material all over the
Hmm.
outside. So it's extremely comfortable to wear, but it's extremely durable on the outside. So you've got reinforced elbows. But one of my favorite things about this is these. I am a hot guy. I sweat.
Yeah.
I sweat in the wintertime. I used to build houses as a teenager. And I wore blue jeans and a thermal top. And my boss was like, "You're crazy." I'm like, "Dude, if I sweat, it's game over." So, so these vent, and as you can tell, they're unzipped because I typically wear this coat with them open.
Mm-hmm.
It also up here. I didn't think this vent would do much, but inside this pocket here, there's a vent of the upper arm, and it works extremely
Nice.
well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this coat is for extreme cold. Like if we're talking like 15 degrees and below, and if you layer with this, you're talking you can take it. I've never been out in the extreme cold, but it's rated to go out into like negative probably 20. I'll have to look that up for
Hmm.
sure, but like a lot of I think we sold these to I sold these to a couple police units where their guys stand still for 8 hours at a time, and they freaking love them. So
Yeah.
different
So
things like that.
it's
This
one
one
thing.
doesn't have the shoulder pads or the back piece for the plate carrier. I think the plate carrier would go on underneath of this typically.
Okay.
But yeah, staying warm at matches. This coat is phenomenal, but it needs to be cold.
Okay. Now I know.
And let's see.
So you answered my tactical Timmy question, which was okay. Like let's say for example, if somebody is going to carry a like okay, if you are a professional, like where would your plate carrier go? Is there like space inside the jacket, or you'd wear it underneath, or you'd wear it
You
over, or
would
like
size the jacket just a little bit bigger
okay,
so you could go under it. I kind of look at their pictures. Honestly, I'm not an alpine
okay,
soldier, so they may have it over the top. I'm not sure. That coat right there has shoulder pads and a back pad for a plate carrier to go over the top of it.
okay, Now,
And so does their Delta Ace as well. And then their winter combat shirt is built specifically for plate carriers.
got it. Fantastic.
So, and then one
Um,
cool feature about this thing
mhm.
is I don't really use it because I find it kind of annoying. But you can they have like a baseball cap that snaps in here. It velcros in,
Hmm.
and to give you kind of like a brim. And then this is flexible, so you can shape your hood. So when I snow blow, you get that wind blowing with the
Yeah.
snow mist. So I'll cinch this down tight around my face, and I can keep most of my face covered with this hood.
Nice.
So
Very cool. Well, what I like about it, like, it doesn't even seem that bulky, which is like, so like, I know like my ski jacket is a little bit on a bulkier side. This almost seems a little bit like form fitting as well. So like, that's pretty nice.
yeah, and this is by far their bulkiest jacket. All their other jackets are really streamlined. So that one over there is extremely streamlined. That one's basically just an outer shell, is what it is.
Okay.
It has very little heat, like retention on the inside. It's meant to be worn over and so when I shoot in the spring and when I shoot in the spring and fall, and you don't know if it's going to be warm or cold, I'll wear. So this is the freaking best hoodie I've ever had. They just released these last year, and I got. So this was a special one. They gave me this one when I went over and visited them.
Mhm.
So it's got some words down the back. But I wear this hoodie underneath of that shell when it's cold. And when you combine those two, it's about the same as the one I just put on the floor. So
Very nice. All right. So here's basically a question that I'm sure people are going to have. And I guess let's put it this way. Like, okay, if you talk about match shooters and stuff, like, they'll have no problem spending $100 on a sandbag, but God forbid we have to spend money on clothing and stuff. I know one of the like, looking at UF Pro's website, like, people will kind of like sometimes balk a little bit at the pricing. Now, I know on Anarchy Outdoors, you have a bunch of like the older Gen 3s that you're doing an inventory reduction sale on. But if you're looking at like retail pricing and some of the newer stuff, I guess like some of those jackets can get up into like the fours. So talk to us about kind of like the value proposition on that, and how does it compare to like some of the competitors, or let's say, for example, someone's going to go out to the mall and just get like, how much is like an actual winter jacket or a good modular jacket going to cost you?
I haven't done price comparisons in a long time, but if you go out and buy like a Free Country or Columbia,
Yeah.
or then you get into like a Sitka or a Kuiu or some of the hunting brands,
Mm-hmm.
they're very comparable in price.
Okay.
UF Pro might be a little more expensive, but they're very comparable. But one thing is the UF Pro stuff, it just lasts.
Okay.
So I should have brought down my original pair of Striker HTs, bought them in 2016.
Wow.
Bought them in 2016, and I swapped them a couple months ago for those that I showed, only because I needed to get familiar with the Gen 3 features. We've been selling the Gen 3s for almost a year, and we haven't been able to keep inventory in stock where I could justify taking a pair, because taking a pair means I have a SWAT team I couldn't fulfill an order for.
Yeah.
Like that's how tight we've been with them. And so I finally took a pair. I think I took it in June, the beginning of June. I did a carbine and pistol class with a full kit play carrier on, because
Okay.
I'm not Tactical Timmy, nor do I work in the profession, but we've been bringing on Web Gear. UF Pro has a sister company that we picked up their stuff, Lindenhof. And so I went out and I wore it. It was 95 degrees. I spent 16 hours outside with a combat shirt on and the pair of pants I showed and a vest, and I did okay. I mean, I did fine. I didn't overheat. I stayed hydrated, and it was fun. So that's kind of it. And when guys come to like gear, it drives me freaking nuts. It's like, okay, I understand people have budgets and different things, right? But like, I bought a pair of pants, and this is one of the downsides of UF Pro. If you're a retailer, I bought a pair of pants in 2016, and I replaced it in 2024. So, and they're still usable. Like, they're a little faded.
Yeah.
But there's no rips in them, there's no tears in them. All the zippers work, and I wear them to. I wore them to finish my basement, to put the floors in, to do my grass, to garden. Like I wear them like
You
work
actually
pants.
use them, not
Yeah,
just like
I wear
wear
them
them
like
fashionably.
work pants, right? Because they got knee pads and they
Yeah.
stretch and they're elastic, and which is a funny story because I had a 75-year-old guy reach out to us and buy a pair for gardening in Oregon.
Hmm.
He's like, these are amazing. He bought a second pair too. He uses them to garden in, and they're funny because they were in multicam because it's the only color we had at the time. So he gardens in with multicam because like they stretch in different things. Yeah, they look very tactical, especially the pair that I showed. My brother-in-law likes to shoot in the very non-tactical ones. They're called the
Okay.
urban, and they don't have all the pockets or the reinforced knees. Now you can put the extra knee pads in them, but you have to flip them inside out and tuck them in
Yeah.
versus being able to insert them from the outside.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just really depends. There's a lot of guys that I shoot with who are exactly like you, and it takes them 5 or 6 months, and then they're like, you know what, I'm just going to try a pair, and they buy them, and then they buy a second pair, and
Yeah.
then it's no going back. So,
Yeah.
and you can, if you watch the match scene, you watch the podium tables, you'll see you have pro all over the podiums.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So basically, but you know what though, like I mean, like one of the things that kind of irks me a little bit, and it's weird. So like, okay, there's like two different hats. I'm putting on my YouTuber hat and not the marketing company hat. From the YouTuber perspective, it's like it kind of irks me a little bit when companies will go out like, okay, look at the podium and like, or like, look at what this sponsored shooter is wearing, or like, okay, look at what, like this person shot with, etc. Like, so I know coming from the USPSA world, the handgun world, it's like, okay, like I know what the brands, what they're looking for is they can say, hey, look, this guy won the match with a Glock, or like, so that means a Glock is great, or but like if you take one of those guys like that's at the podium and you put him in like Walmart specials, aren't they gonna do the exact same thing? Now they might not look as good, but like how much does the gear actually work? Now from the other perspective, I do know that there's a whole bunch of people who they feel like they need the latest gear and they're just going to hit copy and paste on whatever your top competitors are shooting. And I will say a little bit like I see it within my own friends when we go to the PRS matches. One person gets one type of a bag, and the next week everyone has the exact same thing. Or like they look at what the top competitors are using and they're buying it, but we're not really doing the due diligence as to like, okay, do I actually need it or how is it actually helping? So I will say, so I've shot 6 matches. These are the first 2 bags that I actually purchased. Every single other match, I had 2 or 3 other friends there who have various brand gear and stuff like that. And I wanted to try a whole bunch of it to see, hey, do I want to use this? Do I not want to use this? How do I make the best use out of it, etc. So I guess kind of like going back on the clothing question, okay, like, well, how critical is it to have tactical gear, or like how helpful is it when someone's either a hunter or a shooter in the winter months versus, let's say, as Buzz said, ice fishing jackets are great, or just getting something. Now, I will say on the flip side of that, like I always like when you're talking like, oh, this has a place for knee pads and stuff. I was like, why would somebody need knee pads? And then every single match, like there's like a stage like you're kneeling or you're prone, etc., that you actually use them. But I guess maybe I'm stealing part of your answer, but go ahead.
I mean, it really come. Can you hear me?
Yes, I
Does it
can.
sound
We can.
okay?
You sound good.
It sounds different in my headphones. Sorry. I mean,
It's your
I
headphones. You
mean,
sound good.
yeah. So, when I say like, look at the podium, I have not given a single shooter a pair of pants. If
Okay.
they're wearing them on the podium, they purchased them.
Okay.
That's not true.
So
That's
I would say,
not.
you know, like, thank you
Let me
for
take
actually.
that back. That is
Yeah.
not a true statement. I need to clarify. The shooters of Team Voodoo
Yeah.
The rimfire team all got a pair of pants last year.
Okay.
So I have given Team Voodoo pants as a sponsorship, right, and different things. But that being said, all the other guys have all purchased them,
Okay.
and it's taken years, and it was also the guys were very generous when we first bought into UF Pro. My group of friends all bought a pair, and but it's just grown from there. Like it's extremely. I mean, they're nice, right? And then you see guys running other stuff, and it's whatever. But it's really about what you feel comfortable in.
Okay.
So Morgan King, one of the best shooters in the country, wears blue jeans and a rodeo button up like flannel, not flannel, but like your typical rodeo cowboy shirt, long
Mm-hmm.
sleeves, buttons up. He even like instead of wearing a jersey, he's got the logos of his sponsors on the shirt. And I've offered to give him a pair of pants, and he just because Morgan's a good friend of mine,
Yeah.
and he doesn't. He's just like I don't know. It's kind of his brand to shoot it blue jeans, and now it's kind of his brand. So, but that being said, there are some serious advantages. If you're a little overweight or if you're not as flexible, like you need pants that will move with you. You need a coat that stretches in the right places
Mm-hmm.
and different things. Why do you wear knee pads? Because I can drop on my knees without looking at it. If it's gravel, if it's rocks, if it's dirt, different things like that. Just like I can bend over and my butt doesn't fall out of my pants, right? Like, or I don't rip them, or different things like that.
Okay.
And then when it comes to coats, we shoot off of some gnarly props. And I've seen guys rip those puffy Sitka coats like straight up the sleeves. Like you just want something
I'm sorry. What
durable
kind of coat?
because like I actually have one upstairs. It's a Sitka I think they call it the oven mitt or the oven heat. I don't know. It's
Okay.
just one of those puffy coats, right?
Okay.
So he went down onto the prop and he caught a nail that was sticking up a little bit on his sleeve, and he ripped the whole thing all the way down.
Wow.
So it's like, well, you just spent $500 on a Sitka coat that you just ripped the sleeve off of. So it's it really just depends on what you're doing and what you want and what you can afford. I would never shame anybody for just wearing blue jeans or whatever, but why do track stars wear the shorts that they do? Why do professional athletes wear certain types of clothes? Why do fishermen wear certain type of clothes when you hunt, when you rollers, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go to the gym, you have certain clothes for certain things, and they just enhance your ability. Now, if you're a world class shooter in blue jeans, it doesn't matter what you wear, you're going to be a world class shooter.
Correct.
But Morgan King's also still pretty young and flexible, and he's not overweight, and when you got guys like me who have never been flexible,
Yeah.
like it's just helpful, right?
Right.
My quads are so big when I wear blue jeans, there's no splitting my legs. They're stuck, right? Like there's not enough flex in a pair of blue jeans, even
Mm-hmm.
like the elasticy ones, for me to move comfortably
Okay.
and fast. And that's what you shot pistol comps, you shot
Yeah.
some rimfire comps. It's all about speed. How
Exactly.
fast
Yeah.
can you get up? How fast can you move?
Yeah.
It's all about how fast you can move, and then it's about slowing down when you make that trigger pull, so you get hits on target. But then you're busting your butt between moving,
Correct.
so because you're saving time for good trigger control and good breath work and squeezes when you're not moving. So the faster you move, the more flexible you are. And you know what? I also think, man, it'd be nice to be a 120-pound girl and watch them freaking just squish, and you're like, I can't do that. That's unfair. Or
Yeah.
watch a 12-year-old boy do it, and you're like, that's cheating.
Yeah.
I cannot do
Well,
that.
so I
That's
will say, like,
so unfair.
it's like I did put on a couple of pounds, but like I did lose it. So I'm 5'8", 164, 165. And like I've always had, like, I've done kickboxing, then I did boxing, and I do a lot of yoga. So like my flexibility was like pretty good. So like I can absolutely like pretzel myself down into it. But also like my clothes are not bad. But like start seeing some of these bigger people trying to like even like almost like when you have the choice between, okay, you're shooting off of a low barricade or a low prop, Do you bend down? Do you get down on your knees and bend down, or do you go and shoot prone? And while I can't pretzel myself and bend down, like seeing other people, it's like, no, you're not gonna be able to do that. And you're right. Like if somebody has bigger thighs, like those jeans are gonna start splitting, or like those clothes are gonna start
Yeah, I mean,
splitting, and like, and
I
you're
I
not, they're
can't
not gonna
tell
stretch.
you I can't tell you the number of pants I've seen blow out. Right?
I haven't seen that yet.
I've seen it. I've seen because guys show up in like
Okay.
older work jeans and they're frayed and they split those legs and it goes swing. I've seen some crazy things at matches. I've
So,
seen I've
so I
seen
guess,
girls split pants. I've seen guys split pants.
yeah.
I've seen the upper business of ladies fall out of things. Like I've seen some crazy things at matches. So
Wow. So I guess
it's
kind of like,
dress appropriately.
would it be almost like fair to say is okay, like if someone just like a regular, if you're just going out to the range in the winter time and you're just gonna go sit down and you're gonna shoot targets, or you're not doing anything really dynamic, you're not really moving, you just want to layer, you want to be comfortable, and like the gear that we are just talking about, like the clothes we were talking about, like the more tactical style stuff, it's going to be nice to have, but it's not really necessary versus just going and getting that big puffy jacket. However, if you're going hunting, or you're going to be shooting matches, or you're going to be like going through the brush, or you're doing yard work or anything else like that, and stuff can catch stuff can catch on your jackets and stuff, that's where that gear is really going to shine.
Yeah, and I'll add a caveat to that. The UF Pro is not designed for hunting. It's noisy in the woods,
Okay.
right? It's just the
That was
material
let's talk about it. Yeah.
because it's a ripstop material or a nylon. You hear it when you brush against a tree and different things, right? It's not. I mean, it's built for hunting humans, not deer. So typically, humans, when you're hunting humans, they're not running from you, right? It's combat. So watch the videos from Ukraine, right? The Russian soldiers are all trenched in the tree lines, and it is what it is, right? But yeah. So and there's a lot of guys that I shoot with that will run, hunting clothes at matches, and that's great. And
Okay.
there's becoming more and more types of pants and things out there that have kind of that rugged outdoor slash tactical vibe to them. They're like Born Primitive starting to make stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some because of who I am. When I get Facebook ads, they're very targeted to things very
Yeah.
similar to UF Pro and different things. So I see it. And am I saying UF Pro is the catch all for everything? No. Is it extremely awesome gear and does it work extremely well? Does it have a good warranty and a good
Mm-hmm.
company behind it? Yes. Is
So
it
what's the
American
warranty?
made? It's not. So I think it's 1 or 2 years. Basically, if it fails without any like reason, they'll replace it or they'll fix it.
Okay.
So
And you being the distributor, how does that work? Like someone just like contacts you,
yeah,
or like do you need to send it to Slovenia?
typically you contact us.
Okay.
So here's a caveat to UF Pro: is they're a European company and they're used to what Europeans have. There's a tailor on every block. You can find tailors and things that doesn't exist in the United States.
No.
Yes, you can find them, but there might be one in every county, not one in every 2 or 3 blocks.
Yeah.
So I had something break once, and they're like, "We'll send you a zipper. Take it to a tailor." And I was like, "There's not a tailor in the United States."
Wow. Yeah,
And
you're right.
I was like, I was explaining this to him. I'm like, it would
You need to
cost me $200 for a tailor to replace that zipper. I might as well just buy a new one.
unless you live next to a Mennonite or an Amish community.
I mean, there are some tailors
Yeah.
in and around me, but most of them are private, word of mouth, and if you don't know they exist, you'll never find them. And
Interesting.
they're expensive because they're a very skilled trade that doesn't exist anymore.
Okay. So practically speaking, let's say somebody buys a jacket or we buy a pair of pants, and then like they go bend over and it just like tears right along their butt crack. What do they do? And like
Yeah,
how
you
is it
just you would contact the person that you purchased it from, and then there's a warranty process. And typically for us, it's pictures to UF Pro, and they typically have us just replace it and ship it back to them.
Hmm.
But it really just, it's situational. They treat warranties very situational. So,
Okay. So
but I
here's
mean, but
actually
they're a good company to work for. I mean, not to work. Sorry, they're great to work for, and they have a lady who's like, she's dedicated to making the warranty process like as smooth as possible, and she does a pretty good job at it.
all right. So here's actually a interesting suggestion by Buzz. Find a person who does costumes for plays and musicals.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but a lot of them don't advertise, right?
Yeah.
Because they have enough business that they don't. They just don't advertise. That's a great one though, and I have some friends that are really good at doing like nylon stuff, but
Hmm.
handing them a $600 coat and having them cut the zipper out of it. I mean, the technical skills it takes to make one of these jackets or any of UF Pro's clothes is insane, which is why they're having an issue right now scaling, because there are only certain places in the world that have a population with that skill set,
Interesting.
which is why they're made in where they're made. Most of their stuff is made in either Bosnia or Vietnam.
Okay.
And it's just because that's where the population of people who can actually accomplish it is.
Yeah.
Right. And they're extremely technical. People ask why these cost so much. I mean, just look at the complex nature of this. Look, you have a zipper here. You have an internal zipper. So if you're wearing a leg holster, you can reach your pocket because this one's got a leg holster on top of it. You have knee pad adjustment heights built inside the pant, right? Panel on panel. This material right here is different than this material, which is different than this material. Like, it's just, look, this is a thick pad right here. Velcro here for a battle belt. Double, like, I mean, this just isn't a cookie cutter, throw it together. Like, this takes someone with an extreme set of skill to make and to craft. So,
Yeah.
and that's why they're expensive. Like, it literally, and it's also one of the reasons it takes them a while to scale, because they have to take one design at a time to a factory, and once the factory perfects it, they can start to start to train on the next one. And no, they are not having small kids in Vietnam do it. So go watch their video. They explain it. They're not using slave labor or little children. These are extremely well paid and extremely skilled people. So,
Are these big adults who identify as children, maybe?
well, most Vietnam people aren't very big anyways, but sure.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, and that's the case. And like, the problem is anywhere in Europe, you couldn't find a population with the skill set or the willingness to work. I mean, it's economics. We can get into it, right? It's just cheaper to go to Asia to produce something. So,
and honestly, at this point, like, there's certain things like they have more skills to produce it there than they do in the Western world. Like, I mean, we're kind of like talking like, okay, like, even to us, like, yeah, just go take it to a tailor, or like, okay, when was the last time somebody actually fixed a pair of shoes, instead of just like, oh, like, the Sphinx coming loose, let me just go buy a new pair of shoes or something else.
When's
like
the last time you went to a cobbler, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, what's a cobbler? Is that like, that's like peach cobbler you put ice cream on? No, they make shoes. Like,
you mean a shoe shiner? No.
Yeah, no. Yeah. But it's just funny and different things, right? A lot of people know who Jocko Willink is. He's part owner of Origin USA. Origin is a company that's really interesting and fun to follow because they've been bringing that skill set back to the United States, and it's taken them a long time. They went to California and they bought a loom. They're starting to weave their own denim and their own cotton, but a pair of pants from them is $120, right? Like,
but here's the thing though, like, a pair, like, if you buy a good pair of quality jeans, I mean, you're looking at 70, 80, up to $100. I mean, like, okay, and then, like, okay,
yeah, so they're a little bit more expensive, but typically those $80 jeans are crap, and you're buying just the brand. I haven't bought a pair of jeans from a store since a long time ago, so I'm not in touch with what jeans cost now. I went to buy a pair of Origin jeans, and I was like, man, that's expensive. So I'll probably buy myself a pair,
Hmm.
for Christmas this year or something. Because my wife wants me to have a pair of nice jeans. I don't own a pair of jeans anymore. I'm about
She's
to, because you have Pro just
she's
released a pair of jeans, so I'm about to
yes,
have a pair of jeans again. But she does not like the way they look at all, and I can see why, because you can see where the knee pads go. All right, she doesn't like the lines where you can see where the knee pads go in them and things. So, but yeah, I mean, just producing things in the United States is expensive. I know. I produce all of my stuff in the United States.
yeah.
Currently, and I've looked at some foreign bids, and man, it sure is tempting. But we're gonna try and keep everything in the United States. So.
Very cool. So kind of like to wrap up on the clothing side. So like we're talking about the UF Pro type stuff. Like what are roughly the price ranges that someone should be looking for? And I guess sometimes like you do run Anarchy Outdoors does run sales. So would that apply on UF Pro items as well?
Yeah, so all of our sales apply typically store wide. We are currently kind of shifting our focus of what we're stocking. We're
Hmm.
becoming more law enforcement oriented, and we don't stock as much broad. Now that being said, we list a bunch of stuff from UF Pro. A lot of it is live inventory, what we have in our warehouse, and some of it we order just from them as you order it. It takes us
Okay.
about 4 to 7 days to get it from them.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
And there's a comment on the product that says, "Hey, this may take up to 2 weeks," and if it takes longer than that, we call the people who order and we say they got different sizes or colors,
Hmm.
or we can refund your order, or it should be 2 weeks, or it could be 4 weeks.
Okay.
And we've had guys. I mean, we've had some guys wait a year for some of their stuff,
Wow.
but it's just because you can't get it. It's just hard to get sometimes.
Yeah.
Now they
Um,
are ramping production, so
Okay, and then
but
actually, so on this as on a sizing. So I know when we talked a little bit earlier today, actually yesterday, we were talking about like jacket sizing, and like you're like, okay, like, well, what do you wear? I'm like, okay, typically I'm like between a medium and a large, and you're like, okay, we're gonna get you XL. And I'm like, XL. I'm like, I'm not big. So talk to us about. I know like sometimes like when you're dealing with European companies, you do have different sizing because
yeah,
well, us Americans are we're big.
it's European sizing. So
Okay.
uh, that's not true. On their shirts and their coats, yes, their pants are exact.
Okay.
Meaning, if you wear a 38 and eat a cheeseburger and have to unbutton your pants, and you better go up a size,
Okay.
right? Like I wear a 38, um, and if it's perfect, I've worn a 38 since I was in high school
Hmm.
because my belly's over the top of where I wear my pants. So it hasn't my waist hasn't moved for a very long time. But the pants are exact and they're tight.
Okay.
They do have stretch in the waist and different things, but they fit exactly. And
Okay.
measure your inseam. Measure your freaking inseam, right? Because it's important. They cut them to be exact. And if your knee pads don't fit, it's because you measured your inseam wrong, right? It's just the way it is. And their shirts and their jackets, they have freaking measuring guides, and if you use them, they work. So like I wear like an American jacket, I wear a 2X typically
Okay.
because I have really big shoulders.
Hmm.
In UF Pro, the Gen 3 OL, I had to wear a 4X. But their Gen
Wow.
4, they've kind of upped their size a little bit. I wear a 3X in that. I think that one right there is a 3X. I think this hoodie might be a 2X. So we gave all of our employees a hoodie last Christmas. So
Hmm.
the one I have from them is a size smaller than the one I was given by Anarchy. So I've got, depending on if I'm feeling super lazy or like I want something tighter, I have two different sizes.
Wow.
But they,
So
they
then
work out pretty good.
so
So
here's a question. So what if somebody is, and I know the very first time I did t-shirts, I was like blown away what the average sizes are. Um, but like if somebody in the US is, let's say they're a legit 2X or well, like let's say 3X or possibly 4X, are there bigger sizes or like how big do they get for jackets and pants,
uh,
etc.?
so so I think the jackets will go to 4X.
Okay.
They might go to 5. But UF Pro, they're starting to make bigger sizes. They're
Okay.
starting to realize that not everyone's a European. And so if you look at their pants, they're starting to come in 40 and 42, and
Okay.
they're more non-tactical ones come in 44. I think they've got them up to 46 now.
Oh wow. Okay.
But we did an order a few years ago, and we still have a few pairs left. We went all the way to 50.
Oh
So we
wow.
have some. Most of them are in multicam, but we have some brown gray and some pants in those sizes. And if you have a group of guys that want to order, we can do custom orders of any freaking size.
Okay.
Right now, once you get I think once you go above a 36 length and leg,
Mhm.
they don't have the capability to go bigger than that because none of their patterns or what they cut their material with will go bigger than that.
Okay. So like 36 in length, well, in inseam is like how tall is
You got to be like 6'6".
Okay.
So I think Darren DeBoer shoots for Team Bagar, and he can't wear a pair because I think he wears like a 38 inseam. But
Oh
he's
wow. Okay.
I didn't realize how big he was. He's like 6'7".
Oh
I
wow.
shook his hand and his fingers came halfway on my arm. I'm like, holy shit! He's a big dude. I was like, I mean, I'm not the tallest guy in the world. I'm just over 6 feet.
Yeah.
But the average U.S. male is 5'9". So
Yeah.
I don't look up very often.
But you know what though? But like it's interesting though. So, like I go to SHOT Show, and like some of these guys are freaking huge. Like I think we did a video with the guy from Victrix Armament, like back ago, and like we had to have the camera like zoomed out because the dude was like 6'10", and I'm 5'8". I'm like, what the hell?
I am not
Like
happy with my lighting today. Sorry.
your lighting's a little bit bright. Your camera's overcompensating, so you can drop the exposure on it, but that's a different story. Okay, cool good chat on that, and it's definitely helpful. So, I have a pair of pants. I do have a jacket. Literally, like honestly, like thanks to the
Sorry.
blue dabba dee dub da.
I'm not a camera guy. I'm just playing with the settings.
Okay.
So.
But I am
Sorry.
looking forward to it, like because basically it's gonna make it a little bit nicer in the wintertime. And so that's gonna be fun stuff. All right. Along the same lines, we were chatting and you're telling me about your stuff breaking when it's cold. And I do know that like sometimes like in the wintertime, metals break. So I guess like one of the topics I guess I want to discuss initially is as a public service announcement, if you load your ammo or if you're shooting matches and if you chronoed your loads in the summertime, make sure you chrono your loads again when it's colder, because a lot of the powders, so you have either temperature sensitive, sometimes you have like reverse sensitivity where the speeds, some powders will drop the speed when it's colder, other powders will actually get faster and hotter, and you might run. So if you're running your loads at the edge, now that the temperature is dropping, you might really find yourself in a situation where you're borderline kabooms. So that was kind of like one of my mental notes. It was like, okay, make sure you chrono your loads. I know in USPSA, like people would run into situations like they would just have, let's say, one load, and they made it just enough so that it meets power factor. So basically, minimum. So it's power factor is your bullet grain times velocity divided by 100 and 1,000. And what'll happen is like somebody will shoot those loads and then like they go shoot to a major match and like, oh, now all of a sudden it's not meeting power factor requirements. And it's like, well, like it did it before when I chronoed it. It's like, okay, well, did you chrono your load and your data right now again? And people don't do that. So that was my PSA on that. But we're talking about, in your case, like stuff actually falling apart and breaking it when it gets colder.
Um, I gotta think about this. I don't know if I want to name drop anybody.
Don't name drop, but you can basically,
So
but you can talk about it.
yeah, so I have shot in the extreme cold over the winter time. Like I said, I shot in a blizzard, and I've shot in a few things, and I've kept my gun in the car overnight, and I've left it in the garage. Like my gun has gotten very cold, and I discovered, and I've broke two of these, so it wasn't just like a one off. I broke two of them in the exact same way. Is I discovered a scope mount, the way it's designed has a critical flaw. It's the way it works is it's a hinge design, and it has a steel rod that goes through aluminum rings, and when it gets cold enough to compress it because it cannot compress the steel rod, it fracture cracks the aluminum, and I haven't noticed it until I've taken the mounts apart, because when you release the pressure, then they just crumble. It doesn't happen to all of them, and it really depends if you're shooting in the cold. Like, it's a great mount, um, but for someone like me who shoots in extreme weathers, it just isn't viable anymore. So I've started replacing those, and I've started replacing what I use. So
Yeah.
I've been everyone who knows me knows I'm an Area 419 guy. I love what they do. Been around with them for a long time. They invited me out to NRA a few years ago, put me up, hosted me, and I hung out in their booth for a week. It was fun. So I've started moving all my stuff to their scope mounts and scope rings,
Yeah.
and
So,
and are the ones that I recommend. But yeah, I mean, it's shooting in cold weather. You just got to know your gear. Max was talking about chronoing your load. In cold, you can pack more powder in because the pressure is lower.
unless it's a reverse sensitive powder.
Well, that's true. We don't use that in this state because we have 30-degree temperature swings every day.
Yeah.
So
Um,
we don't do that. It's 55 degrees at night. It's 100 degrees during the day. So we shoot the most temperature stable stuff you can find,
so what type of
because
issues?
otherwise,
So I mean, particularly in your situation, where you do have extreme temperature swings, what types of issues are shooters running into? So I know, like, basically even here, like when it gets cold, it's like metals sometimes get brittle, stuff breaks. Same thing with some of the plastics, um, like they shrink and stuff breaks, um, or like falls apart. Um, Talk about some of like the bigger issues and kind of like what does it fall into, like any type of issues, let's say when it comes to optics or anything else like that, that you find either in a match environment or let's say cold weather hunting, things like that.
yeah. I mean, human beings, we pursue comfort, right? A lot of guys don't shoot when it gets hot. A lot of guys don't shoot when it gets cold. I try and just shoot as much as possible because it's my sanctuary. It's my safe space. So for personal experience, I have a 10.5 inch or 11.5 inch carbine that I have never really ran hard. I ran it in 90-degree weather one day, and halfway through the day, I started having just all sorts of crazy issues. Well, everything came loose because it was hot, so I had to go back through it and torque everything down and get it all squared away. But you can see a lot of different things based on weather. Some scopes don't play nice in the heat. Some don't play nice in the cold. Your lower quality glass doesn't like mirage, and things like that, right? Or in the heat. But it kind of really depends, right? You do things like keep your ammo out of direct sunlight. You know, I I'm not sure what you're looking for here, but it really depends
Oh,
on the gear and knowing the different gear. And you asked me to talk about plastic, so I think I know where you want me to go.
no,
Um,
actually, I did not have any particular direction. Just kind of like, so some of the broader points that people should keep in their back of their mind. So I know, for instance, like, okay, like with camera gear, like anything with batteries, as soon as it gets cold, those batteries are not going to last anywhere near as long as you need to.
right. So
So
yeah. So
that's
if
why
you're
I have spare batteries for everything. And better yet, keep those batteries out in your car, or like we're talking about insulated jackets. So one of the suggestions, so if let's say for example, if you have a rangefinder or like range finding binos or anything with battery, keep them inside the jacket for as long as you can, and
Okay.
don't keep them in your range bag. So like things like that.
Okay, that makes sense. I yeah, I just carry batteries because I just do. So I
Okay.
sometimes I've been shooting matches and long range for a long time, and there's a lot of the little things that you forget about, and that's one of them. It's yeah, cold drains batteries. Um, keeping your gun and optic dry in the snow or in
Okay.
the or in the dust, right? So a lot of guys we run rifle covers, right? You're
Okay.
trying to keep the optic clean, you're trying to keep dust out of the chamber, things like that. And I shot in a snowstorm where it's like blowing sideways, and when you pan into the sun, like we pack the objective lenses with snow. So we're in there digging it out, right? Trying not to scratch the glass because
Mm-hmm.
and it turns out the best use of a sunshade is when it's freaking snowing because it can't get all the way up against your glass. So you can
Okay. Yeah.
take the sunshade off and you can clean it out and put it back on. So, so yeah,
Hmm.
I see what you're getting. Is I've done a lot of different shooting, a lot of different environments, and it's the little things that matter, right? Like a lot of guys, like I shot a night match once. Oh, what a learning experience. I didn't have a way to light up my dope. I didn't have a way to light up my turrets. I didn't have it was a learning experience. Guess what? Next time I shoot a night match,
Yeah.
I'll have glow sticks or lights or whatever, right? Because it's like, oh, this is cute. Yes, I can shoot extremely well and I can dial, but when you can't read the dial at night, it doesn't help you. Or my battery in my reticle is dead. Well, that sucks because you can't see through your scope at all. Well, they put a
Yeah.
light on the target, so you can kind of get that little black. Anyways, but yeah, a lot of little things like that.
So
It's
that's where
definitely
an
things.
illuminated reticle would make sense.
Yes, yes, shooting still targets at night. It makes a lot of sense, right?
Okay.
And in the dusk, I sometimes, and I don't typically do this in a match because most of my scopes are not illuminated.
Okay.
Um, if I have a hard time seeing my crosshair on a still target, like on a black target, I'll turn the illumination on.
Yeah.
Now I have a red crosshair on a black target, so it kind of just depends. But plastics come into a big play when you are using 3D printed products. Okay,
Okay.
so and that's where I thought you wanted
No,
us
no,
to
no.
go,
I
anyways.
honestly, I did not have any particular direction. Just
So
kind of like
I
wanted to pick your mind on the
yeah, so
tips and
I've
trick
I've
stuff.
learned a few things, right? Because we released a product for tripods and it
Yep.
was an utter failure because we didn't understand the plastic we were using at the time. We're about to relaunch this onto the market and we've discovered the right plastics to use
Okay.
for the extreme cold and for the heat. And we did the same thing with this. This is our mag flag. It's been on the market for a month or two. And again, we learned what materials to use and what materials not to
Hmm.
use. Do not R&D in the wintertime. That's what I learned. Like you need to R&D in the freaking summertime when it's hot. So we may have melted a few of these, and we definitely melted a few of these. But yeah, like just be careful when you're out buying 3D printed things. You have to make sure you understand the different types of plastics. These are made out of ASA. They are there's pros and cons to every material, but these are made out of ASA. They will handle extreme heat and UV. So I tied one of these to I tied three of these to a railing
Mm-hmm.
down at St. George, or sorry, down at Lake Powell, like on the outside of the house we were staying in. I hooked them on there for a week and it was 105 degrees every day. And this is one of them, like, still looks perfect.
Wow.
So it really depends on the materials. Same with like anything, right? Aluminum, metal, different things, what you're buying, what you're not buying. Um, it just really depends. Having some understanding of the different materials and what you should be using and what you shouldn't be using. Like it's very helpful.
So my particular situation that I was thinking of, like that resonates still in my head, is so when I had the CZ600, so like the magazine there is made out of plastic, and like even during the summertime, like it would feel like okay, like it's barely hanging on. But in the wintertime, one of the things that I found is like, okay, if you just apply slight pressure, the base plate just completely flies out because like the plastic is a little bit more brittle, it shrinks a little bit. The base plate would just fly off. I'm like, okay, well, this thing really should have been metal from the beginning. I know another thing that usually I run into and you have to be more conscious of is like some of the scopes have like very stiff parallax adjustments, and like you can just feel that. And this might be a question for Iliad, Mr. Dark Lord. Like why in particular on some scopes, like in the wintertime or when it gets cold, that parallax and like all of those adjustments, like the magnification and the eyepiece, they just become a lot stiffer than they are in the summertime.
It's a lubricosity issue. How do you say that?
Libris, yeah.
Yeah, it's the material that they're using for lubrication.
Mm-hmm.
Are they using an oil? Are they using a grease? What's its temperature rating? Different things like that. I've heard some people see that the Gen 3 Razor does weird things in the extreme heat. I've had mine out in the extreme heat, and I haven't had the same issues reported. But yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. You have to test your gear. I mean, that's all. That's what it comes down to. Why do we train? Why do we shoot competitions? Well, it's to be proficient. In case anything needs anything needs to happen. So you just have to get out and test your gear. And I mean, sorry if you're a fair weather shooter, get your butt off the couch and go shoot in some cold weather or some hot weather. Like, what's David Goggins say? Stop being a little bitch, kill your inner bitch, and get your ass out there. So
yeah.
Anyways, it's sometimes we have to be uncomfortable. You got to be uncomfortable. There's a couple of guys like you talk to some biologists and some doctors that are like anti-aging, and they're like, aging is the pursuit of comfort, right? That's why all the health people tell you should do a sauna, a hot sauna, you should do a cold plunge, you should do whatever, like sure, but you should go do hard things that are uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right. Is it enjoyable to stand outside in the wind and sunburn your face and wind burn your face? Or like, I find wind burns way worse, especially in the winter. Like a sunburn's a sunburn, but like you get that wind and the cold, you like, it does something to your face that's just way worse.
Interesting. So here's actually, and this is going to be a good question for you. Like, what's your take on lubrication? Do you change your lubrication and maintenance as it comes into the fall and winter time? And let's even drill it down further beyond that. So I know some of the guns that you shoot, and you were having discussions with one of my friends who's now like one of your biggest customers, like with CZs in particular. Like some of those guns like have very tight chambers, and does the lubrication change? So I know from the handgun world, I absolutely use different lubrication in the winter time than I do in the summertime, but does that apply for rifles as well?
That's a great question. I kind of want to quote my grandpa, but I don't know if it's appropriate here.
How dirty you mind did your grandpa?
He was an auto mechanic, so just let that one spin in your head.
All right.
Let that one spin. Lubrication, auto mechanic from the 50s to the 2000s. Just let it spin in your brain. So small town, not a lot to do. Shouldn't be hard to get there. Honestly, I use a lot of dry lubricants. I don't use a ton of. I try not to use greases. I try to use more oil based, I believe. And I'm not an expert on this at any chance, but I feel like greases have a lower. They gum up at a lower temperature. Like a grease requires a higher temperature to stay soft, and an oil the hotter it gets, the more it slides. And it will slow down a little bit in the cold, but not a ton. But I use a dry lube. I like Hornady One Shot. I use it quite a bit
Okay.
on the bolt guns. And yeah, I mean,
Interesting. Interesting that
just
you
a
use it
little
on
bit.
both. Wow.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, I've just put this gun together today. I got to go weigh it. I'm shooting the Guardian match in Colorado.
Okay.
And I decided I didn't want to shoot the Ruger Precision. I wanted to take this out and shoot it. This is the most accurate gun I've ever owned. Well, the barreled action, I should say, is the most accurate thing I've ever shot. So I decided to take that. And so I put this together today, and I put a little bit of that dry lube on there because I haven't ran that bolt in a long time, 18 months. I feel so bad. People are like, you're spoiled. I've had that barreled action sitting with 800 rounds on it for like 3 years, and I finally put it back together. So
Nice.
I am spoiled, and I'll admit it. So, but I just put some of that I wiped the bolt off and then put some dry lube on it, and it's running like a champ again.
Very nice.
It's just kind of what I do, but it's important. You need to look at what lubrication you're using and what environment you're shooting in.
Yeah.
And these are the little things that set apart the guys that have troubles at matches with their gear versus those that don't.
Yeah.
Right.
So I will say, kind of like for the sake of simplicity, it's like I know, like from the match circuit on the handgun stuff, this was like I think it's, like, I don't think it's going to be as big of an issue in the bolt gun world versus semi-auto, because basically with semi-autos, it's like everything is premised on that gun needs to run as it's supposed to, otherwise you're SOL, versus with bolt guns, you can just basically overpower it if it gets a little sticky or whatnot. So I know, like, there's a ton of guys, like I said, they would run in the handgun world, they would run greases on guns instead of oil, because so number one, it's like, okay, like you're holding it closer to your hand as it warms up. You don't want oil spilling everywhere. So grease definitely is a little bit more sticky. It stays in a place. And there's discussions about it. I do subscribe to the theory that it makes the recoil impulse a little bit more pleasant. However, it is an absolute fact that as soon as the mercury drops, it creates a lot more friction. And there's a whole bunch of guns that especially if you're shooting powder puff loads, your gun will not cycle all the way. And that is why I primarily switch to using oils. Like, yeah, it's going to be a little bit messier or whatnot, but I'd rather just have it be oiled, because at least in the winter time, or if the temperature drops, it's not going to create issues. And let's say if it's humid out or whatnot, I'll even put oil, like light film oil, on the outside of the guns and all metal parts, so that it doesn't start rusting and creating the parts. Because I definitely put the guns away and then I don't come back and clean them, and then like sometimes I come back to like, oh look, there's a rust spot forming or whatnot. But like I never even considered it for the rifle world. But let's say, for example, on my semi-auto ARs, AKs, it's only oil. I do not use greases on there or anything else like that, because just kind of to avoid that issue.
The other reason I like the dry lube is I live in a desert, and dust sticks to oil and grease. So I use a dry lube because, dude, it's dusty out here. I shot a match, I think it was last year, in 40-mile-an-hour winds. And I have a picture of it. You can go through my Instagram or wherever. I have a picture. There's an eighth of an inch of dirt on the side of my rifle.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't tear it. I should have taken like the whole thing apart, but I should have taken the barrel. Like, I should have just stripped the whole thing down. I was being a little lazy, so there are still remnants of the dirt on there, and it's pretty bad. Actually, the scope that's on my table, I wiped it off yesterday after I took the scope mount off of it.
Yeah.
Or after the scope mount fell apart on it. It still had dirt and stuff from that match underneath underneath of the
But you know,
scope
like
mount
so,
stuff.
and like this is great. So kind of like the premise with it. Like so, I mean, like for me, it's like okay, I'm like East Coast shooter. Like we generally don't have to contend with wind, like with a ton of wind or sand blowing into your gun. And like for us here, oil is completely fine. But you're absolutely right. If there is like wind or anything else like that, or even grease, that's just gonna smudge it up even more. And it just made me think of the conversations we were having. Like I think it was like a year ago or so where you're like, okay, like, you know, like as the match director for a bunch of matches and going out there, it's like, I haven't gone to a match yet where there wasn't an Arkin that failed. And meanwhile, on the East Coast, it's like, there's a whole bunch of Arkin scopes and like seemingly they're not failing in the matches. And it goes back down to, it's like, okay, like every situation, it's like, you have to know the environmentals of where you're going to be and pick the right lubrication and pick the right gear for that particular situation. And like you can't just go, well, this guy's doing it, so I have to do the exact same thing because it's going to be just fine for me. Um, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And I helped my buddy do a long range class a couple weeks ago out on my range, and he's from North Carolina. So
yeah,
he goes, the Mirage, like someone asked him, like, can you use Mirage for wind? And he's like, in North Carolina, no, I don't depend on
no,
the
yeah,
Mirage, blah blah blah. And I'm like, Tony, out here, you can use the Mirage like really, really well because there's no humidity in the air. So the Mirage is super, super easy to call wind on. Whereas in North Carolina, it's
yeah,
not, right? He's like, Mirage is just a giant fog wall. And it's like, okay, that
exactly, yeah,
makes sense. It's to the point where you can't use it. Or he's also like, well, Mirage, it really depends on which angle the wind's blowing.
yep,
And I'm like, he's like, I don't have wind in North Carolina. I'm like, here, the wind blows the same direction every single time. And honestly, the air is thinner here, Tony. It doesn't matter if you're slightly off on Mirage. Like, because if you come out and shoot it in the West, the sagebrush doesn't move, the grass doesn't move. It's got to be 20 miles an hour before the vegetation will tell you it's windy. So it's like, okay. And then
yep,
you're shooting across different draws and valleys. So the wind could be going different directions on the flight of your bullet and different things. So it's a lot of a shooting, which is an interesting thing, especially in competition. You'll see guys go away from their home range and not do as well because they've learned the
oh yeah,
environmentals of their home range. Well, the wind is always 6 to 10 miles an hour, and it's always left or right at a full value, or it's always and there are ranges um, and there
or
are
better yet,
ranges that
or
like
better yet, like
it's
okay,
home field advantage, right? Like
exactly,
so
yeah, yeah,
it's also
absolutely.
funny to take like a 22 shooter off a square range into the open field and just watch them fail miserably. Like they'll be one of the
That
best
probably
square
happened to
range.
me.
They'll be the best square range shooter. You pull them into the field and they're like, "Huh,
Like, I don't see my bullet. Where's my bullet going?
where'd my bullet? Where's the target? Where'd my bullet go? The wind blows. What? There's wind." Like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's fun times, but yeah, I
interesting.
mean, it's really dependent on everything's just so dependent on where you're at, what you're doing, and a lot of these questions are hard to answer. Like I always get asked, like, "What's the best gun? What's the best caliber? What's the best?" I was like, "What are you doing with the gun? Like, what are you doing with the gun, and what do you want it to do, and what are you trying to accomplish?"
But see, but you know what though? Like, so like that's so that really is like to us when someone like say, oh, like okay, I'm sure you're known as the gun person, and you get asked often like, hey, it's like I want to buy like I'm buying my first gun, I want to buy like the best this or the best that. What do
I
you
want to buy
recommend?
a
And you're
44 Magnum.
well, but here's the thing though. So it's like to us, it it might only seem like a little bit of a silly question, or like okay, like we're talking about like barricade stuff. It's like, oh, it's like there's a particular bag for whatever barricade or obstacle you're going to shoot. There's a particular bipod that's going to be better for this. Or like, okay, like now, like working with a couple of brands on the shooting tripods, like I can legit tell you, like I have a preference for. There's a tripod for every scenario, like that you'd want to shoot at. Um,
I learned
but
how to
if
use a
but it
tripod a couple weeks ago.
but
It's
if you're
legit.
not like but if you're not like that deep into that world, it's like you truly think that there's like, okay, like there's the best lubrication, there's the best scope. It's like, I mean, like you truly do think like that there is there's one holy grail for everything. And like just even this conversation now, okay, like maybe like for clothing, like there's a lot of really good stuff, but like, and like honestly, like I just assume like, hey, like this would be good for hunting, and you're like, no, 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 this is like horrible for hunting because it's going to make so much noise that you do have to look at. So like even if somebody's saying something as the authority, they might only be talking about it for a particular situation or an environment, and ultimately you have to figure out whether it's going to be for your particular environment or situation.
Exactly. Which is,
Yeah.
I have a hard time sometimes listening to so-called experts talk. My favorite. We should have. You know what we should do? Is it? I mean, I wish it was like easy to bring people on and like talk to them, like a live stream or something. What's the best caliber and why?
Oh
What's the
God.
best North American hunting caliber?
Why would
This
you
is my
do that?
this is my
No.
favorite.
No.
This is
No,
my
no, no, no.
favorite.
We are
300,
not
300 Win Mag, son. Like, have you heard of 7 PRC? What the hell is that? 300 Win Mag or 30-6 won 2 world wars. It's like,
no, 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 no. We're not opening that Pandora's box. The only thing
dude, we
that's
should have so
definitive,
much fun.
the only thing that's definitive is the 1911 is God's gift to Earth, and that's the best handgun in the world, bar none. And
Until
there's
they
no
made it 2011.
see. I don't think the 2011 is that impactful as a 1911.
No, it's definitely not. It's catching on, but it's not.
The grip is too thick.
You know who invented the 1911?
Go ahead. It's not.
John Moses Brown.
Well, yeah, okay. I thought it was gonna be like you're gonna go down some rabbit hole how it wasn't him or something.
He's a Mormon, bro.
Okay. Yes,
Browning. Also the inventor of the Modus.
and the high power and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Oh yeah, that dude was prolific.
He's
If you guys, so I'm LDS, I'm Mormon. Okay, so there you go. If you got any questions, we can have a great chat. But so there is a Browning museum in Nauvoo, Illinois. Like it's his original house before he moved to Utah, and they've got some of the original guns of his. So if you're ever in,
I'm still surprised
Illinois,
there's a gun museum in
check
Illinois.
out something cool. What?
I'm still surprised there's a gun museum in Illinois.
Dude, are you kidding me? The LDS Church is the most pro-gun organization in the world because we had guns confiscated and we had massacres early in our founding because of that. Like they went to Missouri, the Missourians took all their guns and then they massacred them. So you don't get much more pro-gun than the LDS population.
Okay. One of these days we are going to have a God off.
That could be fun. That could be fun. Convert you to Catholicism.
All right. Fun stuff.
We could read Revelations together. Oh, that would be fun. Let's do it.
Separate channel.
Man.
Yeah. Yes. All right. So while I have you here, so I will say I bought some stuff from you for matches, and so I guess yes, you're absolutely right.
Hey, hold up. James wants to know what caliber you're shooting in your Colorado match. Who's doing a Colorado match?
You.
Oh, yes. The Guardian. 6 Creedmoor.
Why haven't you switched to 6 Gate Tiger or
Because I don't hand load.
Okay.
So if I hand loaded, I would shoot something awesome. But no, 6 Creedmoor is fun. I like the little zippy bullet.
Wait, hold on.
I can shoot a 6.5 or whatever.
Didn't we just talk about earlier this year how you were saying that there is a trend in PRS and centerfire to go from 6 Creed to 6.5 because 6 Creed doesn't leave as big of a oomph on the steel target.
It's actually to 25 cal. So they're shooting 25 by 47 or 25
Wow.
Creed. So it's there's a I think Berger released a 130 bullet that's just it's either 130 or 135 and it is an amazing bullet. It has a killer high BC
Right. 25
and
is how many millimeters? Is that's a 6.7, right?
I have no idea. It's 25 cal. Welcome to America,
Like
bro.
25 is 0.25 versus 6 mil is a 243.
Yeah, 6
Yeah.
millimeters is 243. 6.5 is a 264.
Yep.
So 25 cal would be
Right in the middle. Okay.
yeah, and I mean, guys are having awesome luck. So it wasn't the 6 Creedmoor, it's the smaller 6 calibers, like the 6 Dasher. They
Yeah.
just don't hit as hard. A 6 Creed shoots a 105 at 3,100 feet per second,
Right. Well,
where
yeah.
you would
So you're
shoot
basically
that out of a Dasher at 2,850.
correct. So you're basically saying with 6 Creed, it's like okay, like it's gonna
It
it
has
goes a
more.
little too fast for you to spot your own shots inside
Yeah,
of like
yeah,
a
that's
5.
what I was talking about. The
Okay.
6 Creed's too. It's the 6 Creed is too fast for good follow up shots. It's
Okay.
getting to the target before you can react and watch it. But like I said, I have 800 rounds left on that barrel, maybe a little more, and then I'll rechamber it to something. And then my Ruger Precision custom shop that I shoot is also a 6 Creedmoor.
Yeah.
And I have a brand new barrel for that, so I'll shoot
Correct.
6 Creedmoor for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, 25 cals are the next thing. Yep. So they are, and I wish I reloaded because I think it'd be phenomenal if Hornady made a 25 Creed. Seriously, I think it would be.
What about like 25 GT or something like that? So,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 25 GT or a
but
25 by 47
but that's
Lapua,
basically 25 by 47.
or you could make a 260 and 25 or whatever, right? It would be. It would. I mean, guys are shooting them; they're phenomenal. So, but I mean, or you
I
could
almost
shoot the.
wonder how like 25 Grendel.
Well, the hard part is that 22 arc. It's hard to argue with the 22 arc because it's 2250 style shooting. So, but you have the 6 max, and then it would be fun to put a 25 cal bullet in like a 6 arc or a 6 mag,
It's gonna
6
split
max,
yeah.
because you would be splitting that difference, so you wouldn't have quite as heavy of a barrel bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, if you put a 25 cal in the 22 arc barrel, like sorry, that would blow up. if
Because
you put a 25 cal bullet in a 22 arc, I think you would have something special happen
because
there.
basically, so if it's a 131, I'm assuming that it's going to be a higher BC. So like 6.5 Grendel is generally like a 130 grain bullet. So you would have a higher BC 6.5 Grendel in essence.
Okay, so I'm going to look up the 135 Burger real fast, and I'll give you the BC off the box.
And of course, assuming it's a real BC number and not a optimistic one.
Actually, they're saying. So here, I'll just read this page to you. The
Here, why don't you
25
screen share it?
grain 135 boosts a high BC jump tolerance. An ogive profile that is Doppler radar verified with less than 1% BC variation. So I'm guessing what makes. So it sounds like it's the design of the ogive and the bullet itself. There's something between those calibers that they're able to get a more efficient, consistent bullet. The 135 is tailored to such as 25 Creed, 25-06 would be freaking cool. 25 by 47 and different things. So
Interesting.
does it give the BC on here? Pull it apart. Great. It has a G1 of 6.5 and a G7 of 0.334. So it's a freaking well-designed bullet. So
interesting.
yeah, that's crazy. Anyways, I digressed. We got into the
Cool.
caliber.
We can have a
Come to the
conversation
dark
of
side. What am I doing on the dark side? 25
oh,
arc? That would be
25
fun.
cals.
I just need more time to reload. Then I would be. That's what I need to. I need to hire a professional reloader who just
Yes.
reloads for me, and I go shoot it, and he just sits in the corner and reloads.
Yep. So wanted to kind of bring up a couple of goodies. Bought my own bag. So we have the Game Changer Medium
Hey, make
by
sure you buy
Armageddon.
some wax for that.
Okay. It feels like it's a little waxed already or now.
No. But as you use it and it rolls around in the dirt, like, so that will stick to about anything you put it on because
Yeah.
of the wax.
Mm-hmm.
As it wears out or as it wears off, you just like I use otter wax or there's some the free rooster wax. There's some others, but so you wax them up, then hit them with your wife's hair dryer.
Okay.
So if you wax it up
Rooster
good and
wax.
then you expose it to heat, it seeps into the material like extremely
What's
well.
rooster wax?
It's where you dip a rooster in tar and then you pull its feathers off.
No
I went
clue.
to a dark place there. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so it seems like my camera's freezing up a little bit, so my bad. That's my crappy internet. Okay. So the other thing that I got, and honestly, like I was like, I'm so impressed with this thing. So this is the grip changer kit by Armageddon Gear and Area 419. So what we have is the Area 419 clamp on the metal rod and the sticky little pad, which is amazing. So like basically instead of getting like those thin barricade bags, like I think this is awesome. Like look at this. It's like it provides grip so you can like pull. Look at this. It's like right on the it's awesome.
So I have a video when this first came out
Yeah.
of Craig at Area 419 pouring a beer into a glass and then drinking the beer from the bag. So he's not holding the glass; he's got it held by that bag, and he's drinking it. Yeah,
Almost.
just give it a little bit of a slant, not a huge amount.
Wow.
So that bag is a. I mean, it's a glass, right? So it's bigger at the top and it's tapered, so it worked really well to stick to it.
Well, so I will say is like, I mean, like it seems like it's perfectly filled. Like you have this very sticky material. So for like, even let's say like there's one stage that they're running the spawn fits like, okay, you're shooting from 10 different positions along the side of the barricade. It's like this multi-shaped barricade. And instead of like throwing this on every single thing, just having this on the gun, it's like you can lean right into it. Like this just seems awesome. Like I'm really looking forward to using this little thing. So that was that. You guys will see that in matches. Some other stuff that just recently came. So between me and my friends, like we just had this whole thing like with Gucci 1022s and customizing the 1022s. So primarily I've used the Ruger BX triggers, which are not bad. There was one aftermarket trigger. So this is from a Jard. Good trigger. However, it has a tendency with the pins walking out. And it just wasn't that reliable. At a local match, I ran into a sponsored shooter by Kid, and like I knew of Kid, and like generally it's been like decent stuff. But I was like, okay, it's a 1022. How good of a trigger can you actually get? And then I played with his 2-stage 1022 trigger. And I was like, oh my God, like this thing was clean. So I reached out to Kid and like I'm like, hey, I have a 1022, told him I'm a content creator. I'm like, hey, do you have like a trigger I can borrow? Can you send me one out? Like, yeah, we'll take care of it. So we sent these. And so two things that like I immediately noticed about them, especially versus others. So this is the 2-stage. You have a flat trigger blade. These are user adjustable, so you can get them down to 8 ounces. Right now it's set at right around 1 pound. So I do like a little bit of a take up. So you have a clean first stage and then you have a very clean break on the trigger and it's a flat trigger blade. but the fit and finish on this is superb. Just even kind of compare the two on here. It's like it's night and day difference. The manufacturing is like it just felt amazing. Like this is a 1022, but the trigger on this 1022 was I'm talking like match grade, like that didn't feel like a little toy or something like that. And I thought I was going to be in love with this. I do have a preference for 2-stage triggers, but they also sent me the single stage. So this thing does not adjust down to like 8 ounces. This is adjust down to 1.1 pound. Very so similar to the jarred, like in terms of how it breaks and everything. But the one thing I noticed about it, so here, I'm going to push this in. The reset on this is tiny. The reset on this trigger is just insane. So we'll definitely have videos on these guys very, very, very soon. They also have, they sent me, I didn't ask for it, but they sent me a trigger upgrade kit. So if you already have a Ruger BX trigger, you can just upgrade a bunch of the internals. So it'd be interesting to compare the two, the complete drop-in replacement versus an upgraded trigger. So we'll upgrade a BX trigger and we'll upgrade a stock trigger and stuff like that. So we'll play with those. I will say, so ammo-wise, I've been using for value. I was using Norma Match 22. However, what I went down the rabbit hole. I went down the rabbit hole of $16 or $17 a box 22 ammo. Don't blame me.
Are you shooting past 200 yards?
Yes. So our PRS rimfire matches, we have targets out to 300. But what I will say, like even on like know your limits racks, like so I love Norma ammo. And keep in mind, I'm shooting base class or production. So it's not like a Voodoo or something else where like it almost doesn't matter what type of ammo you're shooting. I was editing and reviewing the video for the Ruger American long range target. And just the variation between normal match ammo and Center X, like the groups with Center X, like shot 2 or 3 different groups. It was like one hole, not like a tiny hole, but it was one hole. And versus CCI standard velocity or like Norma match or even like SK match, there was a noticeable difference between the groups. And like it feels like, okay, I'm in a position like I'm shooting base class or whatnot. Like at PRS rimfire match, like I lost a bunch of points because it's like, okay, you're shooting 1/4 inch targets or 1/8 inch targets. Like it makes a massive difference. So I kind of like, okay, you know what? Like I'm going to need it for ammo. Like they didn't send me this ammo. I bought all my own rimfire ammo. And okay, like I'm going to use the Norma match ammo. Like the interesting part is like I've run and I chronoed all of the ammo. Ely match is well known for having like low SDs and extreme spreads. Norma match has even lower extreme spreads and standard deviations. However, it seems like the bullet design or whatnot, like it'll throw flyers or it's just not as consistent. And lot to lot, like there's more inconsistency versus SK match and even like some of the Lapua. Even when the spreads are higher, it seems like the bullet design or whatnot, it just groups better on paper. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I got tired of like, you know, I had crazy idea that all of my friends are shooting open and they're shooting like their Gucci guns. And here I am shooting my base class guns. And you're giving up a lot of points. It's like, okay, like, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to keep shooting base class, but I'm going to give it the best chance possible. So that's why I bought the ammo. And since Center X wasn't available, but apparently this long range stuff, which is a little bit higher velocity, but the same thing, like I'm looking forward to it. And
I hope it works for you. I shoot Center X, tried and true Center X. It works.
Yeah. Well, apparently, but Center X
So
is even the cheap one out of Lopwise, so it's not Midas or
with the long range we've seen inside of 200 yards, it not be near as consistent as Center X,
yeah,
but it really shines past 200 yards.
interesting. So what I will say is our local matches. So PRS Rimfire. Every match, there's a couple of stages between 200 and 300 yards. NRL 22, obviously, because it has to be inside 100, but they do run bonus stages that are out to 200. And like I said, I mean, there's like some of the lots, it's like I know I'm getting a good sight picture. I know my dope is supposed to be where it's at. It's just all over the target, and like I'm shooting prone. It's like it's not supposed to be like that.
Yeah,
So,
that's your cone of fire, right? That's where your
yeah.
standard deviation comes into play. You're if you can be sub 1 inch at 100 yards with a 22, you're doing really, really well. Or if you can hold half or whatever, but as you go out, that cone gets bigger depending on what your deviations are.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of guys don't realize is when you get out to a distance, and depending on the size of target, is it might be your rifle's just capable of one hit of every 10 rounds, right? And when you when you shoot little targets, it's really frustrating because your cone is usually twice the size of the target. So yeah, you'll pick up a hit or two, but and same thing. My brother-in-law finally was over at my house the other day, and he's like, "Hey, you said you had a lot of Center X that you haven't been shooting," and he took it from me because I've been beating him, probably based on the fact that I shoot more expensive ammo than he does.
Yeah.
And I gave it up a year ago. I switched to shooting only Center X, and I have second place and a third place trophies, and I have a second place overall season finale trophy. And it's all because like it's frustrating when you shoot cheaper rimfire ammo. You can watch the bullets just curve and miss, and it's just so frustrating. So it's unfortunately we live rimfire competition is a pay to win sport. Like you pay to win, like and that's also kind of not fair because I find rimfire takes more skill than centerfire shooting, and I'm gonna get roasted by the centerfire shooters. But you've got dwell time of the round in the barrel. You have to be exact when you're ranging a target. You have to be exact on your calculations. You have to be exact, which is why I don't hold over very often with the 22. I like to dial to be exact. Now it depends on the stage and it depends on what I'm doing, but I do a mix. But when I want to guarantee a hit, I dial. Like it's just zing, and I send it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. So what's your takeaway from your match shooting? Because I've been giving you crap forever, and then you're up to 3, 4
matches?
Yeah,
I'm going on my 7th.
Oh,
so
you've been stacking.
So actually, we've been lucky that we do have a local PRS match and we have a local NRL 22 match. So within so my PRS match is an hour away. My NRL match is an hour and a half. And
did you pay the fee so we can track your data?
I did.
I'm gonna go look it up right now.
I
haven't shot this month's Course of Fire yet, so
I haven't shot September either. And
so shout out to my boy Easton Ma. He shoots with me and he's 12 years old and he wrote the Course of Fire of September.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, Easton Ma, written by a 12-year-old boy that's been kicking the crap out of grown men.
So basically, kind of like my takeaway, like you know what it was? It was like, so my first NRL 22 match, I won base class. So it was 85 shooters, and 19 were shooting production, well, base class, and I won it with my Ruger precision rimfire. And like I think that was the worst possible thing that could have happened because I went with the expectation is, hey, I'm just gonna go shoot this match. I just want to get some match footage because this would be really, really cool for the videos. And I'm like, crap, it's like I really, really kind of enjoy it. But then I quickly kind of start falling into the issues of like being uber competitive or whatnot. But like not even that. It's all of my friends that are there, like we were shooting open guns. So one of my friends has like a completely Gucci Lilia barrel CZ457. Another one was competing with my Gucci 1022 until he built his own. And here I am shooting. Like I purposely, I was like, I'm gonna shoot my base class gun within the budget, and I shot the Norma match ammo because it was good enough. Like it was like, and the first lot of ammo I had was like fantastic. I reordered it, and the second lot, it's just like the groups are not that great.
Yeah, welcome to rimfire ammo. It changes box to box.
And it's like it's a deeper rabbit hole that like, okay, like I'm not ready to call it quits on base class because I enjoy it because like what I feel like it stands for. It's like it's $1,500. I think it's 1,600 this year between an optic and a gun. It's good and you can have fun, but you're absolutely it's a lot more difficult, I feel, to shoot base class or production versus like I'm shooting. So it's funny, like when we go to the range and like just the day before or whatnot, just to practice or just to get it, and like I'm shooting my gun, I'm like, okay, it's like we're shooting at 100, and it's like I'm like 1-inch groups or whatnot, and like I don't feel like, is it me or is it the gun? Like it has to be like I feel like I'm having like a good hold on it. I think my positioning is good. So like I shoot one of my friend's guns, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can drive nails with his gun. Versus with mine, I feel like with base class guns, it's like it's a lot more difficult, and like part of it is the ammo, and like I said, so
Part of it's the balance of the rifle and the weight.
yeah,
So I usually have my 22 sitting when we do these up here.
yeah,
It's not up here. I have a 21-pound 22, and I don't have to drive the gun. I put it on a prop, and it's there. I
yeah,
could literally shoot that gun by just reaching around and popping the trigger, right? So, and it shows, and we can do a comparison. I pulled your score up from July.
yes,
So Max shot you actually did pretty well. You actually shot a pretty good score in July.
that was my very first NRL 22 match.
You shot a 372. That's pretty good for your first match.
Yep.
Do you want to know what my score was?
What was your score? 400s.
I shot a 476.
Yeah.
I think I dropped 6 rounds in the match, I think. And I took 4th place at my match. So
Yep. Yeah,
I
so
got
I
my
was
butt hammered by other guys.
I was 12th overall and out of 80, and I won base class out of 19.
Yeah, no, it's impressive. It's a good one.
Yeah, and then like basically, like I said, that was with decent ammo and all of that stuff. And then, like I said, last match it was just like, so I ran, like and actually this might be a good topic for next time, but like if you're also squad mom and you're running shooters, like it almost feels like you can't shoot at your peak if you're a good squad mate.
Yeah, having a good squad is very helpful. Unfortunately, you see my tripod sitting on the ground. It's got everything you need on it. I squad bomb quite a bit, but I also shoot with my brother-in-law and my father-in-law and my buddy, and we're all really good, and we're all well. Caveat that us young guys are all really good. My father-in-law has fun, and so does my buddy's dad. They have fun, but so that match where I gave you that score, I finally completed a bucket list item of mine. I beat my buddy, and I beat him by a point. I beat him by a 1. I've been trying to beat him for 18 months, and I finally beat him. And it's because he made a mental mistake, and I got it. Like it's just funny. You get into these NRL shoots, and like I shoot in 2 of the biggest ones in the country.
Yeah.
Hobble Creek and Big Salty. They average 80 shooters, and these aren't like slouches.
Yeah.
These matches are determined by tiebreakers and 1 or 2 points every month. And I consistently shoot in the top 10, right? I've taken some time off. My boy's been playing baseball and things. I didn't shoot in June. I haven't shot in September yet. Probably won't shoot in September because he's got baseball. I'll shoot in October again. So I haven't had as much time on the range. But the last match I shot, I did extremely well.
Yeah.
I shot actually I didn't shoot it as well as I shot it. So I shot the July Course of Fire twice. I shot it in 2 different weeks. And well, we shot it out on the farm in the wind the second month. So the second week, I got a 465. I got a 446, which gave me a third place, where the week before we shot with no wind on a square range. I shot a 476. So you can see that change of environment, how much it affects your and unfortunately I got beat by the same guy in both matches, but it is what it is.
No, so for example, like the last month's match, like for the NRL, like I know one of the things is like I was actually shooting the match the day after I had food poisoning, and it's like all my friends were going to be there, so like, and I had to deliver some ammo for them, so like, okay, fine, I'll go, but like mentally I wasn't there, and basically, I mean, like, so like I dropped a whole bunch of points just by like stupid stuff. So on one of them, so there's a tank trap stage. I cleared the tank trap. However, 2 of those did not count because I shot it. It was like very much memory stuff. So it was shoot left to right, then right to left, then left to right. I shot them all left to right. I got those hits. A lot of them didn't count.
And you had like a bad squad bomb. Wrong target.
And then another one was like I cleared a stage, but I was shooting. So like, because the range was a little bit more compact, I shot the targets from the wrong stage.
Man, your match director needs to learn to put colored cones out. But no, it happens. Hey, I watched the world champion do it once. I was RO on a stage. Watched Morgan King shoot the target from the other stage.
But wrong target. It was like,
what do you mean wrong target?
And partly I feel that was so like the first NRL 22 match is like, hey, I'm new, I'm just here to shoot, have a decent time and whatnot. But it's like I want to be a good person, so let me run the timer. Let me.
No, dude, you just need to shoot. Tell people to piss off and shoot.
Yeah.
The problem is you have match experience.
Yeah.
And you're a good person, but no, you just need to focus on shooting. And honestly, it's all about your squad, right? If I get put in a squad that I don't know, and because I have all the equipment, they expect me to run it, or if I get like, I love teaching new shooters.
Yeah.
But I only want 1 or 2 in a squad. I don't want, because then I can coach you and I can work with you and I can still run the stage. And it's expected. You're going to run the timer and you're going to learn. You're here to shoot. This is your first time. You're going to learn the system, but you shouldn't be doing it all by yourself. So
correct. Yeah. So like, and I definitely kind of felt a little bit more pressure of being a decent person. And honestly, like, it was starting to get to me that like I had above expectations, and it absolutely smacked me like a brick wall when the wind picked up and the ammo, like, I was absolutely like, I was smacked in the face by like, okay, it is a gear raise. It's like, you need to shoot. Like, there's a reason why certain ammo cost $17 a box versus $5 a box. And it's like, yeah, it's like if you had a $600 barrel on your gun and you're shooting with a 1 pound trigger versus a 2.5 or 3 pound squishy trigger.
Oh, that's heavy.
Yeah. But
10 ounces, baby. 10 ounces. And there goes his camera battery. Or his internet. Your internet go? Or your camera battery?
I have no clue. That might have been an issue with the streaming software or whatnot. But
YouTube decided they'd had enough of us.
No, we're still streaming. It's weird.
Anyways, but no, it's good. I'm glad you're having a good time. But ammo is important, and I learned that. I spent a 1.5 years fighting my CZ before I bought my Voodoo.
Yeah.
It's the most miserable I've ever been competing because you can't trust your gun. I have absolute faith in my gun and my ammo. It doesn't even come into my brain anymore. If I miss a shot, it's my fault.
Yeah.
Like it's 100% now, and it just gives you like I can just approach a stage and I can shoot it knowing I don't have to worry about my gun. I don't have to worry about my ammo. I don't have to worry about my gun. It's gonna perform. And now sometimes you get rounds that come out a little slow, and you see some weird things.
Yeah.
But that's an anomaly. Like I shot for a year and a half where I could not trust my gun. It was the worst thing ever. And that CZ still, I don't shoot it to this day. It's got a brand new barrel on it, and I'm having extraction issues with it now. And I'm like, F this, I'm done.
Yeah. Well,
I loan it out to people. I teach people
Yeah.
to shoot with it. I don't compete with it anymore.
And I will say, like that's like that was like one of the unique things is like with my guns, like with my so either the Ruger American Long Range Target or the Ruger Precision Rimfire, I had zero doubts about the reliability or pulling the trigger and having the gun go bang. Zero concerns about that, and I felt horrible. Like my friend, like with his CZ and like all of the issues he was having with that, and I was like, wow, like you got a Gucci gun, and like when it shoots, it's a freaking tack driver.
Yeah,
But
and
it's
my
like there's a
CZ
50-50 whether you're going to finish the match.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what sucked. My CZ went from shooting freaking one hole groups to I literally shot a 100-yard target with it one day and
Yeah.
had a 25-inch spread.
Wow.
Like I hit the top of the cardboard.
Is
I
that
hit
even
the bottom
possible?
of the.
How's
I
that possible?
did it. So yes, it's possible. I did it
Wow.
with my gun, and I have the barrel laying in here on the thing. I kind of want to find like a knife person, have him turn it into like a sword or something.
I want to grab one more thing and then we'll wrap up.
Okay. Okay, this is the time we can make fun of him. Do we actually have anyone left in the chat? Everyone gone to bed? I think everyone's peaced out. If you're still around, just say hi in the chat.
So, what I will say though, so shooting the matches, the other big takeaway is you find the case use for a lot of this like little crap that you ordinarily wouldn't need for anything else. So for example, like I finally was able to make use of my dope card holder, like with the internal bubble level. Like, hey, that was like really, really cool. Like obviously like you have a need case use for like using a different bag for all of these types of situations. And I will say, so actually this is a new product that just came out. You'll be seeing it, but like, you know, like for matches, like you actually need it. And that is a way to hold a clamp for either your Kestrel or your rangefinder. So you have the saddle mount, but this one's made perfectly for holding rangefinders because not like some rangefinders will have like a quarter 20. A lot of them don't. So yeah, you have that for a Kestrel specifically, and then you have this. You know what we need to adapt?
You gotta send me one.
I will send you one of these. And very reasonably priced. And it expands out to 2 inches. So
can you take the arc off the bottom of it?
You cannot, it's built in. But on the bottom, what you have is a quarter 20 and a 3/8 screw as well. So you can
okay, because I'd be interested if you could hook it to a like a bearing and then put the Kestrel flag off the back of it.
Oh.
They make a Kestrel holder that goes on top so the wind will blow it around.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be, I mean, that would be extremely cool to see like a heavy duty one built. But then maybe the wind won't blow it. I don't know. So it would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
It depends on, I guess it would depend on how good of a bearing you put it on. So it would take the slightest movement, but I don't know. It'd be interesting. No, I want to check one of those out. I have a Vortex rangefinder.
Yeah.
And it's got a threaded bottom, so I don't have those peasant problems. But
no, but you know that's the thing. So like I use,
but there's a lot of rangefinders that don't have it.
Most of them don't. Like I was amazed.
I really think it's just the Vortex. Maybe the new SIGs, but it's almost
maybe
only
the new SIGs. But like my
Vortex.
existing SIG rangefinder doesn't have, like you'd think that to be a quarter 20 in it. Nope, there isn't. So this is going to be a good one. Like I said, it's small enough, it's lightweight, but you do have the Arca, so you can run it straight into Arca. You have a 1/4 20 and a 3/8, so you can attach these on magic arms into the side of your tripod as well. And like I said, it expands wide enough so you can actually hold your Kestrel in here as well. If you can't have it on the side of the leg.
You actually have me thinking. I don't know where all my stuff on top of my tripod is. I threw everything in boxes after the long range class, and I haven't finished cleaning up. So
Nice.
all of that might be upstairs in one of my range boxes.
I do have to go for the garage, and I have like 3 totes of gun stuff for various stuff. So I had 1 tote that I did for my just to go to the range to go record videos. Another one that I had set up that was just to go to the PRS match, and then I have a separate one for the NRL match because at the PRS range it's like spread out. So I have my big cart that I take with me, so all that stuff I keep in a tote. But the NRL match, it's at a smaller club, and they're like, no, we don't want you to have like to bring those 4-wheeled wagons. So I have like a smaller 2-wheeled cart that I bring for that. So I do have to go.
You need to. We were talking about competing. That bag on the floor right there.
Yeah,
that's what you need for matches.
Which bag? I can't say it. Let's make
it's
it
the
bigger.
Eberly Stock Upranger.
Okay.
Do you want to see it here? I'll grab it.
Yes. So everyone here, like, we use like those wagons, so you can just drop everything in there. You can bring a whole. Wait, you mean carrying it on your back? Are you kidding me? Yeah, but now you got to bring everything.
Hopefully, it doesn't fall off my chair.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
It's like a camera bag.
Yeah.
So and it lays flat. So you can unzip it all the way. But the best part is it has a plastic shell on the bottom.
Okay.
So you can throw it in the mud or in the snow or in the water, and your bag doesn't get wet. It keeps everything inside dry.
Or if you had a wagon, none of your stuff would get wet.
Screw your wagon. Be a man. Carry your damn gun.
Oh, no. Everyone here uses wagons.
Yeah, it's because you all shoot on freaking flat ranges.
Yes, we do.
Oh, my goodness. I don't know how to shoot in the real world. Gotta have my wagon.
And on that note, it is getting a little bit late.
I'm not gonna lie, I've used a wagon. I've used a wagon too.
They're much more convenient. Like, they're very convenient. You can have everything in there, and so forth. All right.
Actually, can you see the Armageddon tripod caddy over there?
Hold on, let me.
Or is it at a? Is it at? Yeah, you can see that bag. So when I shoot on a square range where my car is close by, I carry that, and that's it. Everything I need goes in that. So I carry like one bag, all my extra magazines, ammo goes in that, and I carry the tripod, and that's it. So
nice.
Yeah, I carry the Squad Mom wagon tripod, and like on a small square range, it's like I have to walk max 100 feet, like from end to end. So it's like I've gotten to the point where it's like I don't need to carry anything but that and the other stuff. But like at other ranges that aren't little square ranges, I carry the backpack because on the backpack I have a clip for my rifle. So you clip the rifle in, so then your harness takes the weight of the gun. So then you can carry your tripod.
Very cool. Awesome.
And that's how I walk around a match.
So, Aaron, thank you for joining me. This was fun. I'm glad we got back into the swing of things. I'm going to see if I'm going to shoot the match this weekend or not. So it's the same day as my daughter's birthday party. So we'll see if I can get things done. If so, I'll be making use of this stuff and this Gucci ammo.
Make sure you get out and test it first.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But then again, I don't foresee issues with feeding because, well, I don't shoot a Gucci CZ. But
Nah, feeding won't be an issue.
yeah. But on that note, actually, hopefully, I'm going to have the Labrador LX kind of forward looking a little bit. But I was on Instagram. I made a comment about Labrador. The CEO of Labrador reached out to me and we had really, really good conversation. And this is not the people who ran the US domestic operations, but the owner, the president of the parent company in Canada. So we had long discussions. I do have a Labrador LX that's going to be coming. So we'll compare it to my Labrador, and I'm really looking forward to running it side by side with a Garmin and going from there. But we will try to have, so we'll have a video for you this week on the Ruger American Long Range Target. Maybe I will shoot this gun in the PRS match, in the NRL match this week. And schedule's going to be a little bit weird for the next 2 weeks. Have some stuff going on. But we'll try to do a live stream either this Sunday night or maybe like Monday or Tuesday. But then you'll have videos scheduled out after that. As always, thank you everyone for joining. I'm really, really, really glad we're on. This will be available as a repeat. As always, thanks for watching. Keep on squatting, and we'll see you in the next video linked up here. All
Peace.
right.